Hey, Aaron Oberholzer here at the beautiful Talking Stick Golf Club in Scottsdale, Arizona, and we're talking C3i Wedge, and basically trying to give you guys some ideas about how you can work on your short game with the C3i Wedge. The next thing I want to talk about with you guys about the C3i Wedge is I get a lot of questions, how do you hit the spinny pitch shot? Well, let me clear up something real quick and some misnomers. You can't always hit a spinny pitch shot, okay? So if you need to spin the ball or you need to stop the ball, sometimes you need to do it with trajectory, meaning you need to hit it higher and land it softer. Being able to spin the ball on a chip shot is purely predicated upon the lie. Purely predicated upon the lie. If your lie is good and you have a nice tight lie on shortly mown grass, you can nip the ball. If the lie is sitting up and you can, in like let's say a first cut, and that first cut is a very well and tight first cut where it's sitting on top, you can probably spin the ball with the right contact. But if you've got any kind of grass in between the ball and the club, most of the time, I'd say 85% of the time, you are not going to be able to spin the ball and really get that biting chip shot that you'd like to get. That's where you're going to just have to sacrifice and go, okay, if I want to stop this one close to the hole, I'm going to have to go upstairs with it. I'm really going to have to hit it high in the air and use trajectory to stop the ball. So the first thing that you need to do as a player is read the lie. You need to understand whether or not you can spin the ball based on what you see. Now here, we're just kind of coming into overseed, and the guys have they've mown, but the overseed quite hasn't grown in perfect to where they can really mow this tight. So we're kind of in a in-between phase between being able to have really tight grass and having really fluffy grass. So this is kind of one of the toughest times of the year to pitch the ball around the greens here in Arizona if you want to hit that spinny pitch shot. Because it's real easy to get a lie where, yeah, you can hit that spinny shot, and then the next one, you get the flyer, where you get just a little bit of grass in between the ball and the club face, and that ball takes off and doesn't even think about biting on the greens. But let's try to show you basically the basic technique on what I want you guys to do. Now, to hit that spinner pitch shot. So part of that spinning pitch shot, and pretty much all of it, is contact. Speed and contact and angle of descent, those three things pretty much create how you're going to spin the ball and how much spin you produce. What angle of descent are you coming in on? How clean a contact can you get? And then how quickly can you I guess shallow the club out to make sure that the club's not sticking in the ground. Okay, so I don't want you to get too steep, because sometimes when you get too steep, it doesn't really help spin the ball more. So it's an ideal angle of attack combined with ideal contact on the ball with the right amount of speed. Okay. You can spin the ball getting wristy. You can spin the ball opening the club face. You can spin the ball with a square club face. It all depends on what your lie is doing and how you want to come into that ball. You can also spin the ball basically with a very stiff wrist, which you wouldn't think, oh, how do you spin the ball with stiff wrist? Doesn't that make the ball go further? Not necessarily. That doesn't make the ball run out. Okay, again, first things first, what is your lie? Can your lie be spun? Can you spin the ball from your lie? If you can get the club clean on the back of the ball, then most likely you can hit a spinning chip shot. So let's assume that you're clean on the back of the ball here, okay? I'm trying to find the tightest lie imaginable here so that I can kind of show you guys the spin, all right? And then from there, and another thing is make sure you clean your grooves, because if you've got any kind of residue on your face, the ball is just going to slide right at the face. So the grooves being clean is essential, and the face being clean is essential to good contact and making sure that ball sticks in the grooves, and the grooves do what they're supposed to do, which is grab the ball and impart as much spin as possible on that golf ball, okay? Then here's another thing. The type of ball you play determines how much spin you can put on the ball. If you play a harder ball, or you play a ball that's designed more for amateurs to get your swing speed up, it's harder to spin those balls. Or get your ball speed up. It's harder to spin those balls than it is, let's say, a professional ball or a ball with a softer cover that a professional would play, okay? So it's basic that if you can make contact with the ball cleanly, come down on the ball at the right angle, you can spin the ball. And the funny thing is that in order to spin the ball, it's the ideal angle of attack that pinches the ball with the bounce and squeezes the ball against the turf. Not stick it in the ground and get too steep, and not stay too shallow to where the club face, to where the ball slides up the club face, but you use the bounce back here and the club face to squeeze the ball against the turf at the ideal moment to where you can impart the most spin possible. This takes a lot of practice to be able to pull off on a consistent basis. Lots of balls and lots of working on making sure you lead with the hands and squeeze that ball against the turf using the bounce of your golf club, all right? Let's give it a shot. Not bad, still didn't spin a lot. I tried to check up a little bit. There was a good one. That one checked up nice. So sometimes in order to hit that spinning chip shot and to get the bounce just right, you kind of got to open the blade just a little bit. So that when you open that blade a little bit, that enhances the bounce on the bottom of the club, and it's easier to pinch that ball against the turf, creating those proper conditions to be able to spin the ball to where you get the club perfect, but the club doesn't dig into the ground and hence having the ball slide up the face. So if you can squeeze that ball against the turf using the bounce, and you can do that by leading with the hands and keeping that face just slightly open, that's how you hit the best kind of really biting, spinning chip shot or at least the ones that I've been able to hit on tour. All right, let's try it one more time. I'm gonna try to get a really tight lie here, which is hard to find right now just due to the way the overseat is right now. All right, slightly open face, just barely slightly. 70-30 to 60-40 with the weight. And it's just a standard chip shot, but we're using the bounce to pinch that ball. That one slid up the face just a little bit. So the conditions have to be very ideal, and how you come into the ball has to be perfect in order to hit this. There we go. That one came off low and really spinning. Staying shallow, getting that ball first. Squeezing it against the turf. That one's checking a little bit, not as much as I'd like to see, but again, I can only do as much as the conditions are allowing me to do. You're a victim of your environment with this shot, and if you don't have the right conditions, the shot's really difficult to pull off. That one slid up the face, and I tried to pinch that one. So if you just get a little bit too one way or the other with your hands or squeezing it, it has to be absolutely perfect, and it's one of the hardest shots to play on a regular basis. And it's also why it's so important to have the right wedge with the right bounce. You combine the right wedge with the right bounce and the right technique, and this shot actually becomes a fun shot to play. There we go, there's a good one. Better technique. That one spun. One more. Trying to stay shallow, lead with the hands, use the bounce, pinch it against the turf. Better. So give that a shot at home with your wedge or with your C3i wedge. Make sure that you open up the face a little bit and use that, engage that bounce, not a lot, just barely to kind of give that a little bit more effective bounce on the bottom. And then just make a normal swing with your chip shot, standard chip shot, and pinch that ball against the turf. And if you can do that, you can impart a little bit more spin on the ball, but make sure that the conditions that you're pitching and chipping in for the shot, that allows you to play this shot. Don't try to spin a shot from a lie that's not going to allow it. If you got grass in between you and the ball, most of the time it's not going to allow you to do that. But if you can get a clean look at the back of the ball, then most likely you can play this shot with a lot of practice.